Hey guys, tonight we stand on the quiet edge between chaos and clarity, listening to the hum of the world as it spins a little too fast. Close your eyes for a moment and feel the neon glow of the city streets flicker across your eyelids. Hear the engines growl, the notifications ping, the headlines hiss like summer insects. Yet here in this small circle of light, you and I slow everything down. I'm guiding you through a mindscape where turbulence turns to still water and panic learns to breathe. But fair warning, you probably won't survive this episode unchanged. The untrained parts of your mind might just melt away in the heat of new perspective. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. Let's weave a constellation of calm souls across the globe, shining from Bangkok to Boston. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Feel the first sentence slide into your consciousness like cool water over stone and follow it onward. Part 1. You live in an age that feels like a stampede. Markets spike and crash before breakfast. Opinions ping across screens faster than your heart can beat. You are praised at 9, betrayed at 10, forgotten by noon. Everyone urges you to chase more money, more followers, more certificates, more noise. Yet in the eye of that tornado, a quieter truth waits. Your mindset is everything, not your resume, not the number on your scale, not the zip code stamped on your Amazon packages, but the invisible operating system behind every choice you make. Epictetus would call it hegemonikon, the ruling faculty, your inner captain at the ship's wheel. Marcus Aurelius would call it the inner citadel, that fortress no siege can breach. Modern psychologists call it your cognitive frame. Call it what you will, but know this: when crisis arrives, the world will measure you not by the storm around you, but by the stillness within you. Just ask Captain Sully Sullenberger, the veteran pilot who, when both engines on Flight 1549 flamed out over the icy Hudson, refused to tremble. 155 souls looked to him in silent panic. He met them with measured breath, clear thinking, and a voice steady as granite. This is the captain. Brace for impact. It was not luck that floated that jet on a winter river. It was mindset, trained, tested, unshakable. You have the same latent power. No, you may never glide an Airbus onto a frozen current, but every dawn hands you smaller engines to lose a colleague's sarcastic jab, an unexpected bill. The doctor's hesitant pause before reading your x-ray. Each is an invitation to panic or to pilot. Which role you choose is your first act of sovereignty. So let's anchor ourselves in the first Stoic principle. You do not control the world. You control how you meet the world. You already know this intellectually, like you know the earth orbits the sun, but living it is another discipline entirely. The weather will mock your picnic. The client will ghost after promising the deal. Your own body will one day betray your plans, yet the gap between stimulus and response, the gap where freedom lives, still belongs to you. Picture Obama on the night news broke of a certain global crisis. Reporters frothed advisors, whispered opposition, cheered for misstep. Cameras found the president in the situation room, spine straight, eyes calm, fingertips pressed like a chapel steeple. Later, a journalist asked how he kept his composure. He smiled that deliberate smile. You can't manage events. You can only manage your decision-making process. Translation, focus on the dial. You can actually turn. In your life, that dial appears each time another person's chaos tries to colonize your peace. The co-worker's gossip dial. The family drama group text exploding at 2 a.m. dial. Even the unpredictable heartbeat of your own body, palms sweating before a presentation, chest tightening before a difficult phone call, is merely data for the dial. And the setting you choose determines whether you burn precious energy screaming at clouds or invest that energy sculpting your character. But here lies the paradox. Owning your reactions is simple to say, brutal to execute, because emotion assaults reason like waves pounding a cliff. That is why the Stoics trained daily Marcus with his evening journal, Epictetus with his relentless Socratic questioning, Seneca with his rehearsals of poverty and exile. And it is why Serena Williams, studying her opponent's fastest serve on slow motion replay at 3 a.m., is practicing stoicism in Nike gear. She cannot control the umpire, the fickle roar of the crowd, or the fragile tendons in her serving shoulder. She trains what she can, a readiness to return whatever the universe smashes across the net. You might ask, how do I begin to build that kind of reflexive calm? Start small and start now. The next time your phone vibrates with criticism, do nothing for 60 seconds. Feel the surge of heat rise through your chest. Label it anger, embarrassment, fear, then watch it like a passing subway car. You are the platform, not the train. In that minute, you reclaim the throne of your mind. Repeat this micro practice daily, and you will notice a subtle miracle. The world slows. The same insults arrive, but they ricochet off a thicker skin. The same traffic snarls, but you navigate it with a podcast and a half smile. Ryan Holiday calls this stillness. Neuroscientists call it down-regulated amygdala response. Names differ, essence remains. Now let us stretch the lens wider. Your emotions are temporary. Your character is eternal. Picture Keanu Reeves seated on a park bench, paparazzi flashes strobing his solitude. He sips cheap coffee, feeds pigeons, smiles at a passerby. Millions meme his quiet moment as sad Keanu, projecting loneliness onto him. Keanu does not tweet back rage. He does not sue tabloids. He simply endures, then donates secret millions to children's hospitals, and arrives early on set to carry equipment with the grips. He knows emotions, his own and others, are weather systems. Character's climate. Stoicism invites you to treat each emotion as a visitor. Anger knocks. You greet it, ask its purpose, and decide whether it deserves a chair at the table or a polite escort to the door. Joy arrives. You savor it without clutching, because you know joy too is transient. When fear slips in at midnight, you sit with it under soft lamplight and ask what lesson it brings. This is not suppression, it is governance. You are emperor of the inner provinces, and every feeling must pass customs. Of course, governance requires laws, and your foundational law is value over impulse. Imagine David Goggins at mile 90 of a 100-mile ultramarathon, toenails bleeding into worn-out shoes. Every neuron in his body screams, "Stop." But Goggins interrogates the scream, is quitting aligned with my purpose? The answer is no, and so he keeps running. You and I may never punish asphalt for 30 straight hours, yet the principle echoes in simple moments, finishing the last rep. When your muscles tremble, apologizing sincerely when pride begs you to stay silent, saying no to sugar when stress whispers just one bite. Each decision wires your brain for either resilience or retreat. And what about fate, those seismic events beyond even the finest mindsets reach? The Stoics give us amor fati, love of fate. a philosophy Serena channels after a torn hamstring steals a season. Instead of cursing the court, she pivots to motherhood, to business ventures, to mentoring rising players. Fate closed one arena. She opens another. The move is not denial. It is alchemy turning pain into platform. You can practice the same alchemy. Lose a job, yes. Grieve the loss, then mind the downtime for skills you once postponed. Relationship ends. Acknowledge the ache, then harvest the space for self-study. Even tragedy can be repurposed into virtue, though no timeline can be forced. Stoicism is not a macho demand to get over it. It is a whisper that when ready, you can sculpt sorrow into wisdom. Before we pause, let us preview a heavier truth, the one most people dodge until the final hour. Memento mori, remember death, so you may remember life. Do not flinch. The reminder is not morbid, it is clarifying. When Captain Sully faced twin dead engines, mortality pressed its cold finger against every beating heart on board. In that pressure, he found perfect clarity, aviate, navigate, communicate. Each of us deserves that clarity daily, long before the emergency. Tonight, write this question at the top of a blank page. If this were my last year, what worthy risk have I postponed? Sit with the discomfort that bubbles up. Tomorrow we'll explore how mortality sharpens purpose rather than dulls joy. For now, close your eyes once more. Feel the breath carve a cathedral of stillness inside your chest. The traffic persists, notifications blink, but none of it owns you unless you surrender the keys. You are the pilot, the athlete, the emperor of this single moment. Train the moment, and the moments will train your life. When you open your eyes, carry that discipline into the smallest act, tying your shoes, replying to an email, greeting a stranger. Every action is an audition for the person you intend to become. Calm is not a mood, it is a muscle. Confidence is not volume, it is alignment. And mindset, quiet, resilient, fiercely humble, is the forge where both are born. Take one more breath. The world you re-enter will try to yank you out of this centered stance, but remember, Sully, Keanu, Goggins, Obama, Serena, and remember the Stoics behind them. They are proof that storms are inevitable, panic is optional, and mastery is a daily choice. We have only begun. In the next part, we will journey deeper into the mechanics of emotional alchemy, how to transmute anger, fear, and envy into disciplined action and lasting peace. Until then, guard your inner citadel and walk the world with the deliberate calm of a pilot on final approach. Part 2. Let's step back into the cathedral of your breath. Inhale, steady, deliberate, like you are pulling the next page of your story toward you. Exhale, slow, conscious, like you are guiding ink across that page with intention instead of haste. Feel how a single breath can set the tempo of an entire day. Now shift your focus from the rhythm of breathing to the weather of feeling, the swirling clouds of anger, fear, envy that blow through the inner landscape. Most people let those ones dictate the course of their ship. You will become the captain who reads the sky, trims the sail, and turns even fury into forward motion. 1. Anger from combustion to propulsion. Seneca called anger a brief madness, yet he also knew it held raw voltage that, if harnessed, could light a city. Think of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson before dawn, sweat darkening the concrete beneath a loaded barbell. In interviews, he speaks of childhood eviction notices taped to apartment doors and a hollow bank account that once ignited volcanic rage. Today, that same rage is distilled into a training regimen so disciplined it feels monastic. 4 a.m. alarms, handwritten workout logs, iron plates that clang like temple bells. The lesson is not to worship anger, but to channel it, forging it into drive instead of damage. You can replicate this alchemy in moments far smaller than a movie set. The next time someone cuts you off in traffic or your coworker steals credit for your idea, feel the spark, but refuse the wildfire. Label the emotion anger. Take one breath to widen the gap between trigger and reaction. Ask Marcus Aurelius's quiet question. Is this within my control? The car has already sped away. The meeting has already ended. What remains under your command is how you convert heat into momentum. Draft a sharper proposal. Improve the presentation no one can plagiarize. Drop for 15 push-ups, letting muscle fibers burn off the steam your mouth was about to unleash. Anger becomes the hammer, not the hole in the wall. Fear from cage to compass. Fear is the twin emotion most people misunderstand. They treat it like an intruder to be banished instead of a scout bringing essential intelligence. Picture Alex Honnold, the climber who free-soloed El Capitan without a rope. His brain scans reveal a muted amygdala response, yet he's not fearless, he's precise. Months before the climb, he rehearsed every micro move on a rope, memorizing handholds, like a pianist memorizes scales. What looks like insanity is in fact fear transmuted into granular preparation. You do not need to dangle from granite to practice the same method. Suppose you are preparing for a difficult conversation, asking for a raise, announcing a boundary to a parent, confessing a hidden truth to a partner. Notice the throb of fear, faster pulse, shallow breath, a clutch in the gut. Instead of fleeing, take out paper. Map the scenario like a climber plans each pitch. Bullet the facts. Prepare counter-arguments with calm clarity. Envision the worst-case outcome, then chart how you would stand up again. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, negative visualization. Modern psychology calls it exposure therapy. Both aim to prove you will not shatter if the worst arrives, and often the worst shrinks once named. 3. Envy. From comparison to creation. Envy may appear softer than anger or fear, but its corrosion is subtle and constant. Scroll any social feed and watch envy whisper, "Why not you?" Why so late? Beyoncé faces the same digital sirens. Yet notice her interviews, she speaks less of chart positions and more of an internal scoreboard, vocal range, widened endurance, extended storytelling, elevated. She competes against the previous Beyoncé, rendering rivals irrelevant. That shift external metrics to internal mastery is pure stoicism. Try it the next time envy pricks you. Translate the trigger into criteria for growth. If a colleague's promotion stings, dissect the skills that carried them upward. Choose one to cultivate deliberately: public speaking, data analysis, emotional intelligence. Schedule practice like appointments that cannot be skipped. Each tiny iteration converts envy into blueprint, comparison into creation. 4. The alchemy circuit, a 4-step drill. To train this emotional transmutation daily, run the alchemy circuit. Ponot trigger. Identify the exact moment the emotion sparks. Timestamp it. 4.2. Label. Name the emotion. Seneca believed accurate vocabulary weakens tyranny. 4.3. Interrogate. Ask what value or goal the emotion points toward. Anger points to justice, fear to safety or growth, envy to recognition of unrealized potential. 4.4. Transmute. Design a single concrete action aligned with virtue, justice, courage, temperance, wisdom. Execute within 24 hours to seal neural pathways and productive patterns. Write these steps on a note card. Carry it until muscle memory engraves the sequence in your nervous system. 5. Modern minds, ancient algorithms. Neuroscience now quantifies what Stoics intuited. Functional MRI shows that labeling emotions activates the prefrontal cortex, dampening the limbic surge. Cognitive behavioral therapy mirrors Epictetus's dictum. People are disturbed not by things but by the view they take of them. When you shift appraisal, cortisol drops, clarity rises. The world's spiritual traditions converge here: Buddhist mindfulness, Christian contemplative prayer, Navy SEAL box breathing. Different languages, same algorithm: train, attention, rewrite, perception, reclaim, agency. 6 stories as training partners. Consider Malala Yousafzai reading a school book under Pashtun twilight while militants decree her education illegal. A bullet shattered her skull, but not her resolve. Anger at injustice transmuted into activism. Fear of death refined her message to crystalline simplicity. One child, one teacher, one pen can change the world. Malala's emotional alchemy turned a would-be tombstone into a Nobel lecture. Each time you feel small grievances swell, measure them against that scale. If Malala can convert mortal terror into global reform, perhaps you can turn that passive-aggressive email into an opportunity to practice poised assertiveness. Or think of Tom Brady, drafted 199th, face unreadable as 6 quarterbacks are chosen. Before him, envy flickered, then cooled into relentless study of playbooks. At dawn, precision diet pliability workouts, others mocked as soft. 2 decades later, the number 7 gleams on his ring rack. Envy metamorphosed into encyclopedic preparation and longevity. These narratives are not hero worship, they are lab reports. They prove emotional energy is transferable like electricity traveling copper. The length of wire is discipline, the transformer is mindset. 7 exercises for the week, 72-hour trigger. Log record every spike of anger, fear, envy for 3 days. Beside each note, how long the physical surge lasted, usually less than 90 seconds. And what story you told yourself that prolonged or diffused it. Role reversal letters. Write a short letter from the perspective of the person who provoked your anger or envy. This forces cognitive empathy, rewiring neural pathways toward understanding rather than rumination. Micro-courage reps. Choose a tiny fear daily: speaking up in a meeting, cold showering for 30 seconds, making eye contact with a stranger, and do it. Each rep thickens the myelin sheath around bravery. Evening Stoic journal. 3 bullet points. Where did anger arise? How did I transmute? What virtue did I strengthen? This nudges the brain to encode the lesson during REM sleep. What you're bringing it home. The inner blacksmith. Imagine a blacksmith's forge inside your chest. Raw emotions arrive like jagged scrap metal, too hot to hold, useless in shape. Each breath is the bellows fanning controlled heat. Each stoic question: is this under my control? What virtue does this call for? As a hammer strike, straightening the warped steel into a sword, a plow, a bridge beam. By dawn, the scrap has become a tool. By dusk, the tool builds a life aligned with purpose. You will still feel the initial burn. Stoicism is not an aesthetic, but the sensation becomes signal, not saboteur. Eventually, outsiders will marvel at your composure the way passengers marveled at Sully's, or reporters at Obama's. They will call you calm, confident, born that way. Smile gently, know the truth: you were not born calm, you forged calm. And every day you choose to hoist the hammer again. 9. Transition to discipline and routine. In the next part, we'll drill deeper into the architecture that makes this forging sustainable: routines, rituals, and environmental design that turn sporadic insight into default behavior. We will examine how Serena choreographs practice, how naval officers structure decision loops, how Marcus organized his mornings on campaign. Prepare to map your own regimen, the scaffolding that supports the cathedral we're building within. For now, close your eyes once more. Let the furnace in your ribs settle to a gentle glow. Feel gratitude for every emotion that visited today. Each carried ore for the forge. When you wake tomorrow, they may visit again. Welcome them. You have tools now. Open your eyes. Step back into the current of daily life with the quiet audacity of someone who trusts their own alchemy. The storm will roar, but inside the forge, steel is forming. Part 3. Hold the stillness you forged for a moment longer and feel its center of gravity. Notice how, like a candle's halo, it can wobble if a door slams or a memory flares. That wobble is natural, but so is recalibration. The world's currents never cease, so you must plant pylons to anchor your ship. Daily rituals so ordinary that outsiders shrug, yet so intentional they become the steel frame of an unshakable mind. Think of these rituals as the scaffolding that supports every philosophical insight we've explored. Without them, insight floats. With them, it crystallizes into character. Imagine you wake while the streetlights still glow amber. The phone face down rests in airplane mode. First act water touches your lips, not a screen. You jot 3 lines in a notebook, gratitude for breath and intention for virtue, a single fear you vowed to face today. 12 words total, but each one is a tiny stake driven into the ground of your day, telling chaos you may blow, but here I stand. That is not romantic theory. It is neural conditioning. Studies out of Duke and MIT reveal that morning routines stabilize cortisol spikes, sharpen executive function, and preload the brain's reward circuits for disciplined behavior. Marcus Aurelius knew this intuitively on frosted Roman mornings when he wrote, "At dawn, remember you were made to do the work of a human being." Same principle separated by millennia, identical results. Now widen the lens to Serena Williams. Long before center court spotlights, she starts in dim pre-dawn silence, jump rope humming like a minimalist metronome. Dynamic stretches, footwork, ladders, visualization so vivid she can smell fresh tennis balls. None of it's glamorous, yet each repetition engraves muscle memory. By match time, pressure cannot find a foothold. Her system runs predetermined code. Stoicism calls this premeditatio futurorum, the rehearsal of right action. The Navy refers to it as crawl, walk, run progression. Business gurus label it standard operating procedure. Every high-status performer builds their citadel brick by brick, morning pages, cold showers, meditation bells, prayer mats, gratitude jars. The nouns differ. The verb remains train. Consider Jocko Willink's infamous 4:30 a.m. watch photo. Black dial, luminous digits, sweat-slick gym floor beneath. He captions it with one phrase, discipline equals freedom. Critics say it's macho sloganeering. Yet look deeper. Discipline front-loads the cost, the early alarm, the refused donut, so that freedom arrives later in compounded dividends. Health, clarity, confidence time. Stoicism echoes him across centuries. No man is free who is not master of himself, Epictetus declares. When you lace up shoes before dawn, you are not just training quadriceps, you are voting for the sovereign version of yourself. But routine is not merely physical. It is cognitive architecture. Take Barack Obama during his presidency. Blue suit or gray suit, never a third option. Decision fatigue abolished before breakfast. Why? Because strategic focus is a finite resource. And he refused to waste it on fabric selection. The lesson: automate the trivial to amplify the essential. Your version might be a simplified meal plan, a capsule wardrobe, or scheduling creative work at the same hour daily. Each automation is a guard posted at the gate of attention, allowing the ruler within to deliberate on matters of actual consequence. From routine to rhythm, rituals, once installed, fuse into rhythm, and rhythm frees you to dance with life's unpredictability. Imagine Sully's cockpit checklist, dozens of micro-routines drilled until muscle memory rules. When birds crippled both engines 3 minutes after takeoff, he skipped panic. Instead, checklists executed themselves inside his neurons, while consciousness scanned for the improbable landing strip we now call the Miracle on the Hudson. Routine, far from making you rigid, grants you the bandwidth to improvise when improvisation matters most. Yet none of this matters if you cling to an illusion of total control. That is why the Stoics paired discipline with amor fati, love of fate. Not mere acceptance, but love, embracing every twist as sculptors chisel. Stephen Hawking lost his flesh to ALS, yet his mind soared through black hole event horizons. When asked if he resented fate, he replied, "It would not be much of a universe if it wasn't home to the people you love." Hawking did not choose paralysis, yet he chose wonder. He rewrote cosmic equations using a single muscle in his cheek, a radiance of agency inside relentless constraint. You will face your own variant of ALS, metaphorically or literally. The project killed by budget cuts, the diagnosis etched in grayscale on a clinic wall, the earthquake that reduces years of savings to rubble. The untrained mind cries, "Why me?" The disciplined Stoic in you pivots to, what does this demand of me? Perhaps resilience, perhaps humility, perhaps radical reinvention. Amor fati is the vow to cooperate with reality so intimately that adversity cannot help but leave a gift in its wake. Real-world case study: Bethany Hamilton, the teenage surfer whose arm was severed by a tiger shark. Fate removed one limb. She returned to competition within months, rewiring her balance, retraining muscle memory, and eventually winning national titles. She did not deny loss. She transmuted it. Watch footage of her carving waves. There is no bitterness in her stance-only flow. In interviews, she says, "Surfing with one arm isn't easy, but it's allowed me to inspire millions." That sentence is amor fati, distilled pain upside down in itself into purpose. The confidence toggle. This amorous dance with fate dovetails into the next Stoic pillar. No one can steal your confidence unless you cooperate. Think of Taylor Swift absorbing a public feast of mockery after a televised award snafu. Headlines predicted her decline. Instead, she went silent, then surfaced with an album that shattered streaming records. The humiliation became rocket fuel. Critics remained, relevance returned tenfold. At no moment did she relinquish authorship of her narrative. You experience smaller versions daily. A coworker rolls eyes at your idea. A friend forgets your birthday. An online stranger mocks your passion project. These events are external. Pain blooms internally. Epictetus said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind consented to the provocation. The word consent stings because it wrenches responsibility back into your hands, exactly where power waits. Your freedom lies in that millisecond interval between insult and interpretation. There you decide whether an arrow becomes infection or instruction. Infection festers through rumination. Instruction says, "Thank you for revealing a weakness in my armor. I shall reinforce it." High-performance coach Serena tapers this principle into her serve. She envisions boos as white noise, then converts them to rhythmic timing cues. Each jeer becomes a metronome, tick guiding toss and swing. you can adopt the same alchemy. Next criticism you hear, imagine it as a training bell, ding time to re-engage posture, breathe, reaffirm values. Confidence then is not a fortress to defend. It is an energy grid you re-illuminate with each deliberate response. Act on values, not mood. Here we slide from confidence to conduct. A Stoic does not oscillate on the seesaw of moods. They consult a value compass: justice, courage, temperance, wisdom. Mark those 4 points. Any decision outside that quadrant is drift. Keanu Reeves exemplifies this in subtle ways. Declining blockbuster profit share to gift stunt cruise Harley Davidsons because loyalty outranks greed. Ask yourself before each significant action, does this align with my chosen virtues or merely my transient appetite? That one audit prevents a lifetime of regret disguised as spontaneity. Implement a micro habit. Keep a wallet-sized card listing your top 5 values. Before hitting send, before sliding a credit card, before promising time, you cannot spare a glance at the card. If the action clashes with the ink, pause. This practice, so simple it feels childish, has saved marriages, bank accounts, reputations. Neuroscience shows that visual value cues activate the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, boosting self-regulation. Marcus Aurelius etched his values in knightly ink. You can carry yours in daylight graphite. Training the mind like muscle. All this returns us to the body-mind metaphor. You cannot bench press once and expect lifelong strength. Likewise, one meditation app session will not bulletproof your prefrontal cortex. Install daily mind gym reps. Perhaps 5 minutes of box breathing upon waking, 2 pages of journaling at lunch, 5 mindful bites at dinner where you taste instead of scroll. Each rep adds a fiber to your attention span. Miss a rep. Forgive swiftly, resume quietly. Goggins calls this callousing the mind, but it is less about brutality and more about repetition without drama. To quantify progress, track response latency, the time between trigger and value-aligned response. Week 1, coworker snub triggers 2 hours of silent resentment. Week 8, resentment flickers for 2 breaths, then you redirect to solution-oriented dialogue. That shrinking latency is hypertrophy of the will. Designing your personal dojo environment shapes practice. Build cues into physical space. A meditation cushion in your bedroom corner signals dawn reflection. A kettlebell near the desk invites micro workouts. Browser extensions that block social media handcuff digital distraction. Even background music matters. Neuromusic research suggests 60-80 BPM instrumental tracks entrain heart rate to calm range priming focus. Curate a playlist Gregorian chants lo-fi beats Hans Zimmer, strings whatever escorts your mind into the desired gear. If family or roommates crowd your dojo, claim door frame rituals. Before crossing into workspace, touch the frame and breathe deeply. That tactile anchor partitions identity. On one side, domestic chatter. On the other, maker silence. Over time, your nervous system will switch context as reliably as a light flips on. From scaffold to skyline, we began this part by erecting scaffolding. Let's climb higher. Picture your life as a skyline under construction. Each routine is a steel beam. Each value-driven choice is a rivet. The storms of fate, recessions, betrayals, pandemics may darken the sky, but your framework stands because you bolted every joint during clear weather. Future onlookers will marvel at your natural composure. Smile. You'll know it was engineered rep by rep, breath by breath. Preparing for mortality's mirror. Before we close, stand before mortality's mirror. Recall Memento Mori previewed earlier. The routines you craft, the discipline you wield, these are not about living longer. They're about living wider and deeper. Steve Jobs, facing terminal cancer, spoke awaken every morning and asking, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do? Too often the answer was no, and he adjusted. You need not wait for biopsy results to practice that clarity audit. Tonight, journal one task you would erase if tomorrow were your finale, and one you would chase harder. Then restructure tomorrow accordingly. We will dive fully into death's clarifying power in the next installment, exploring how contemplating the end sharpens purpose and unknots procrastination. For now, breathe into gratitude for the simple privilege of another sunrise ritual, another chance to align actions with values. Commit to one tiny behavioral tweak before dawn, setting shoes by the bed, writing the value card, cueing the 60 BPM playlist so momentum greets you waking. Close your eyes. Feel the pulse behind your sternum, that soft drum announcing you are still in the game. Whisper, thanks. When lids lift, step into the corridor of night or morning with the quiet rigor of a black belt philosopher, disciplined, adaptable, in love with whatever fate delivers next. The forge is warmed, the scaffold secure, the skyline rising. Part 4. Picture dawn cracking open above the skyline, the same skyline you are quietly erecting within. Gray gradients spread like wet ink across the horizon, reminding you that every fresh morning is also a limited edition, once printed, never reissued. You stretch, feel the hinge of your spine, sense the pulse in your wrist. That throb's not just blood. It is the ticking of a cosmic metronome, measuring a song that ends for everyone sooner than they expect. Memento mori, remember you will die. Sounds grim to casual ears, but to the Stoic builder, it is rocket fuel. When you hold mortality in your palm, procrastination dissolves, petty grudges shrink, and the value of a single honest action skyrockets. Seneca advised, let us postpone nothing. Balance life's books each day. Modern counselors echo him in hospice wards. Bronnie Ware, an Australian palliative nurse, cataloged the top regrets of the dying. I wish I'd had the courage to live true to myself. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I'd expressed my feelings. I wish I'd stayed in touch with friends. I wish I'd let myself be happier. Not once did she hear I wish I'd scrolled longer or I wish I'd been angrier in the comments. When you sit with the dying, you hear the unfiltered KPI of a life alignment between values and actions. Use that KPI now while edits remain possible. To wield mortality as mentor rather than tormentor, run the 5-minute funeral drill. Sit in silence. Imagine your memorial 3 weeks from today, sunlit Chapel Park, bench ceremony, or ocean scattering wherever your people would gather. What 3 stories will loved ones tell about you? Which virtues will they highlight? Which grudges, if any, will stubbornly clang in the silence? Jot the answers. This is not macabre. It is architectural clarity. If the imagined eulogy jars you, excellent. Let the dissonance push you toward course correction. Steve Jobs made this drill a daily ritual after cancer's first knock. Each morning he asked, if today were the last of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do? If the answer was no, too many mornings in a row, he tweaked the trajectory. Result products that reframed modern communication in a calendar purged of mindless meetings. You might not invent the iPhone, but you can apply the same binary test to tonight's agenda. Does it matter under the lens of mortality? If not, delegate, delete, or diminish it. Consider Chadwick Boseman, who in the final years of secret chemotherapy still filmed Black Panther channeling painkillers. IV drips and unspoken dread into a performance that ignited a generation's imagination. He never tweeted his diagnosis to fish for pity. He simply squeezed maximum meaning for minimum time. That is, memento mori turned kinetic. But beware, mortality awareness can swing two ways. When unprocessed, it mutates into anxiety. Psychologists call it terror management theory. The subconscious scramble to buffer fear of death through shallow distractions, binge shopping, empty fame, tribal fanaticism. Stoicism offers the antidote: stare death directly in the eye, speak its name, integrate it until urgency replaces anxiety. Urgency moves you to send that gratitude text while the loved one can still read it, to ship the project before perfectionism kills it, to choose broccoli over cigarettes, because existence deserves quality as well as quantity. Here's a mortality to action cascade you can try tonight. 1. Contemplate 5-minute funeral drill. 2. Distill, identify one value illuminated by the drill, e.g. creativity, present service. 3. Translate, draft one concrete act expressing that value today. Record a 60-second song idea, silence phone at dinner, donate an hour to mentor. 4. Schedule, block the act on your calendar within the next 12 hours. 5. Execute, complete then log how it felt. Momentum loves evidence. Repeat daily for 1 month and notice the heft of trivial worries evaporate. Mortality stops being a looming shadow and becomes a spotlight, revealing the edge of each moment so vividly that you step onto it like a stage. Now shift perspectives. Your limited time frames, everyone else's too. That truth births compassion. The barista who misspells your name, the partner who misreads your tone, the stranger who cuts you off are not villains. They are mortals trudging through invisible battles. Remembering their finitude softens judgment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Soon you will have forgotten all things, and all things will have forgotten you." Far from depressing, that cycle frees you to meet irritation with grace. This small annoyance will vanish. How shall I behave until it does? When you respond with calm, you offer them a brief respite from their own dread, an act of service disguised as courtesy. Let's weave in a modern high-status demonstration. Keanu Reeves again. Asked why he donates millions anonymously and offers his subway seat without cameras rolling, he shrugged. Because we're all passing through this life together. He knows motorcycles crash, co-stars die, relationships fracture. Mortality stripped off excess ego, exposing pure kindness, quiet, unadvertised, habitual. You can copy his template, one small secret generosity per day. Over years, those accumulate into a legacy of unseen bridges. Calm is the ultimate strength. Once you digest mortality, calm surfaces naturally. Why bellow when hours are precious? Why hoard when coffins lack pockets? The calmest person rarely needs to explain. Their very presence realigns a room. Think of Sully after the river landing, standing on the wing, ensuring every passenger reaches the rescue boats before he leaves the aircraft. That stillness calmed frantic passengers because calm is as contagious as panic. Training calm does not mean flattening emotion. It means widening capacity so that high arousal doesn't shove you off center. Neuroscientists liken it to heart rate variability. The healthy heart accelerates under stress but returns quickly to baseline. Stoicism cultivates similar mental elasticity. The exercises you've practiced, breath control, value audits, routine scaffolding, serve as elastic fibers. Each time you face an intense moment and recover swiftly, you reinforce the fiber. Imagine Serena in a finals tiebreak, crowd roaring. Between points, she bounces on her toes and flicks the racket strings, a micro-ritual resetting her nervous system. You can mimic this with a reset anchor, a word gesture, or breath pattern that instantly reminds you of your mortality-fueled priorities. Try the Latin vicista you have conquered. Whisper it, feeling the syllables, rest on the exhale, and watch mental turbulence subside. Legacy over. Resume. Memento Mori also clarifies what kind of success is worth the chase. Resume, virtues, titles, raises follower counts, die with you. Legacy, virtues, character, influence, service, echo. Barack Obama jokes that he has 2 dates and a dash carved on his tombstone, birth dash, death. What matters is the dash. In your LinkedIn-obsessed culture, rebalance toward dash building. Maybe that means mentoring interns, writing essays that unveil mistakes as well as wins, or designing products that outlive quarterly bonuses. When you pivot from scoreboard to long-view decisions, simplify. Should I binge Netflix or read to my child? Dash. Should I lash out or ask a curious question? Dash. Should I play it safe or launch the side project? Dash. The 2-minute obituary. Rewrite. Once a week, open your notes app and write a 2-sentence obituary for yourself as if the week were your life. If it sounds hollow, pinpoint why. The goal isn't self-shaming, it's iterative design. Adjust the next 7 days accordingly, then rewrite. Over months, the obituary morphs from timid placeholder to vibrant testimony. That incremental shift mirrors atomic habits, small improvements compounded toward monumental difference. High status model. Sully. Again, look deeper at Sully's post-crash demeanor. Interviewers thrust microphones, publishers waved checkbooks, yet he spoke minimally, deflecting hero labels toward crew and controllers. His calm post-miracle underscores a Stoic secret. Great deeds need not swell ego. Awareness of death deflates vanity. Sully knew every cockpit error previously avoided mattered equally to that Hudson landing. Celebrate quietly, refine continually, because tomorrow's engines may flame out anew. Bring in Serena's biology. Serena's calm is also biochemical. She slows breath to 6 cycles per minute, nudging vagus nerve tone, releasing acetylcholine, steering her into parasympathetic dominance. You can duplicate inhale for 5, hold for 2, exhale for 7. 10 rounds lower blood pressure and sharpened decision speed. Neurosurgeons employ similar breathing before the first incision. Tie this to memento mori. Long breaths extend life's moment. Short breaths squander it. Consciously extending the exhale signals your body we are safe enough to savor this minute. Facing collective mortality, global crises, pandemics, climate shifts drag collective mortality to headlines. Knee-jerk reactions flare, hoard toilet paper, hurl blame, binge outrage. A Stoic channels the same awareness into communal responsibility. What aid can I offer? How may I lessen panic? David Goggins, during natural disaster rescue volunteer stints, turns his extreme fitness into hauling debris and delivering supplies. You might contribute by checking on elderly neighbors, sharing vetted information instead of rumor, donating skills to remote teams. Mortality becomes a lever for social cohesion. Exercises to cement mortality mindset. 1. Sunset salutation. Each evening, watch the sky dim for 3 uninterrupted minutes. Tell yourself a finite number of sunsets remain. This is one. 2. The last receipt. Before purchasing, ask, would this line item appear on a ledger I'm proud to hand? St. Peter. If not, reconsider. 3. Pulse gratitude. During workouts, match gratitude statements to heartbeats. Thank you for lungs, for quadriceps, for synapses. Mortality hides in the pulse. Gratitude transmutes it to vigor. 4. elder interview. Call someone at least 20 years older. Ask what they no longer worry about and what they still cherish. Record wisdom nuggets. Mortality viewed through elder eyes calibrates your own priorities. 5. Digital will. Write login instructions and a farewell letter to loved ones. Store safely. Completing this releases subtle background anxiety and frees cognitive bandwidth for living. From death to design, we have now mined mortality for urgency, clarity, compassion, calm. Notice a pattern. Every theoretical Stoic tenet becomes practical once you graft it to daily behaviors. Philosophy without practice is stained glass without sunlight, colorful, inert. Practice without philosophy is a treadmill movement, no meaning. Blend them and you walk a luminous corridor called wisdom. As we transition to the next chapter, remember each breath is both deposit and withdrawal. You are spending breath to read these words. Spend it wisely to enact them. Part 5 will dive into translating everything we've mastered: emotional alchemy, routine scaffolding, mortality, urgency into service, the outward radiance of an inwardly forged mindset. Because a citadel once secure is meant to shelter more than the architect. For tonight, close this screen, step outside if stars are visible, or at least lean toward an open window. Gaze into darkness, not as void, but as vast invitation. Whisper to the sky, or to God, or to the quiet cosmos, I am here for now. And that is miracle enough. Then rest knowing you have kissed the edges of your finitude and come away empowered to sculpt dawn anew. Part 5. Lean in a little closer to the quiet hum of your own pulse and notice how it synchronizes almost imperceptibly with the world around you. The breath you draw is borrowed from a forest you may never hike. The proteins in your blood were stitched together by plants that cracked sunlight into sugar decades before this moment. Even the words scrolling across this screen are only possible because countless engineers, teachers, and long-forgotten scribes passed torches of literacy down a human chain that glows behind you. Once you truly feel that lattice of interdependent service stops being an obligation you schedule and becomes an instinct you trust and exhale that naturally follows the life-giving inhale of everything you have been given. You have spent these early chapters forging calm discipline and mortality-sharpened urgency. Now you will direct that inner fire outward, letting each flicker illuminate someone else's path as surely as others have lit yours. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a citizen of the universe must do good to others as naturally as a vine bears grapes. He meant that service is not a heroic extra credit. It is biology, aligned with virtue. Neuroscientists now echo him with fMRI scans showing that altruistic acts light up the brain's reward centers more reliably than luxury purchases and social media likes. When you help dopamine drips into the synapses, oxytocin softens heart rhythms and stress hormones ebb. But the Stoics would remind you that pleasure is a byproduct, never the aim. The aim is harmony with nature, oikiosis, that widening sense of kinship, in which your well-being is inseparable from the well-being of the circle around you, then the city, then the planet. Epictetus said the philosopher's task is to keep the proper company, and he didn't just mean people, he meant ideas and intentions that elevate rather than erode the common good. Consider Chef Jose Andres, whose Michelin-starred ego could have luxuriated in white tablecloth applause forever. Instead, when hurricanes gut island grids or earthquakes crumble city blocks, he parachutes into the wreckage, sets up portable stoves, and feeds thousands before bureaucracies can even print their first relief forms. He moves with a Stoic's decisive serenity survey reality. Accept constraints act where control exists one hot meal at a time. At press conferences, he shrugs off the hero label, insisting I'm just a cook. That humility is a mirror the Stoics would polish daily because service loses its purity the moment it gorges on praise. The same thread stitches quieter garments. When Serena Williams mentors a junior player, she isn't chasing headlines. She's paying forward the discipline once lent to her by her father on cracked Compton courts. When Keanu Reeves diverts a chunk of his movie profit to the prosthetics departments of children's hospitals without publicist fanfare, he's practicing generosity as muscle memory. David Goggins, after each brutal ultra-run, funnels donations toward scholarships for fallen comrades' families. None of these actions is random. Each is a logical extension of the worldview you are training. I control my effort. Fate controls outcome, therefore I will invest effort where it most alleviates suffering regardless of applause. Yet modern culture often confuses service with visibility. Social platforms reward photogenic charity, smiling selfies, ladling soup. But service measured in hashtags can hollow itself into performance. The Stoic safeguard is intent audit. Before hitting post, ask, would I still do this if no one ever knew? If the answer falters, recalibrate. True service is stealthy more often than showy because its currency is impact, not optics. Barack Obama's suit routine illustrates the principle. By automating trivial choices, he preserved cognitive bandwidth for consequential decisions affecting millions. You mirror that economy of attention when you quietly choose manual dishwashing, so your partner can rest or send an anonymous tuition payment to a struggling cousin or spend Saturday morning tutoring math instead of refining vacation hashtags. Nobody claps but the universe if such language helps tilts a fraction closer to justice. Service paradoxically also polishes your own armor. Psychologists speak of the helper's high, a measurable upswing in serotonin and endorphins following altruistic deeds. But the Stoics would caution against making chemical kicks the goal. They are simply proof that nature endorses mutual aid. Still, you can harness biology to reinforce habit the way athletes leverage endorphins to crave tomorrow's workout. Log each tiny act in a service ledger, 5 bullet points nightly of ways you nudged another's burden lighter. Review the list weekly, not to boast, but to witness pattern. Over time, you'll see that certain forms of giving ignite you more sustainably than others, steering you toward a niche of contribution where talent, joy, and societal need intersect, what the Japanese call ikigai. But beware burnout siren. Service without boundaries corrodes both giver and gift. Stoicism advises the golden mean: be agreeable if possible, immovable if necessary. Flight attendants echo this when instructing you to fit your own oxygen mask before aiding companions. If you deplete sleep, rescuing every midnight crisis text, your daytime empathy runs on fumes, breeding resentment. Design a service budget, much like a fiscal budget. Decide in advance how many hours or dollars you can allocate weekly without jeopardizing your core responsibilities: health, family, purposeful work. This boundary protects quality. A rested mind solves problems more creatively than a frazzled one. Let's refine method into a practical loop. Identify, match, act, reflect. Identify a pain point inside your sphere of influence: a neighbor's loneliness, a project bottleneck, a community-littered park. Match it with a resource unique to your skill stack: listening, coding, organizing muscle. Act swiftly, ideally within 24 hours before analysis paralysis blooms. Reflect at day's end. Did the action relieve suffering? Did it align with values? What micro tweak could amplify impact next round? Loop again. Over months, this cyclical craftsmanship sculpts service from sporadic impulse into systemic competency. When setbacks strike, and they will return to the trifecta you honed earlier: emotional alchemy, routine scaffolding, mortality awareness. Perhaps you launch a mentorship program and half your mentees ghost after week 2. Instead of spiraling into cynicism, transmute disappointment into iteration. Improve orientation sessions, refine criteria, try again. Captain Sully practiced thousands of simulator failures, so real-world failure shrank. Your service mission deserves equal rehearsal. Accept fate's turbulence with amor fati, then adjust flight plan. Service also benefits from strategic speech. The Stoics prized parrhesia, frank yet respectful dialogue. Obama's cadence in town hall Q&As, pause, paraphrase, answer, shows his art. He listens deeply, acknowledges emotion, bridges to principle, then offers actionable vision. You can adopt a 3-beat reply in daily discourse: breathe, reflect content, add constructive, next step. This pattern reduces defensiveness, builds rapport, and converts conversation into collaborative problem solving, the soft tissue of service. Expand your lens beyond individuals to ecosystems, climate change, data privacy, equal access to healthcare. These colossal challenges might dwarf your sense of agency. The Stoics remind you vast tasks are conquered by coherent micro acts. Vote for environmental policy, eat 2 vegetarian meals weekly, mentor underrepresented coders, donate unused devices for refurbishment. Each act is a vote for the type of world you want inhabitable when your breath ceases. Seneca wrote, "No man is crushed by misfortune unless he has first been deceived by prosperity." Training yourself to forego a measure of convenience for communal resilience inoculates you against that deception. Now weave everything together in a daily service blueprint. Mourn in gratitude for 3 ways others served you yesterday. Midday scan surroundings for a solvable pain point, email backlog, unwatered office plant, perplexed customer. Afternoon, deploy 1 skillful intervention, however miniature. Evening ledger entry plus a single sentence of reflection: I felt most alive when. This blueprint repeated will transform service from sporadic charity into identity. Friends will sense it in your tone. Strangers will feel it in your posture. You will walk like someone entrusted with secret sunlight. Notice how calm and service strengthen each other in a feedback loop. The calmer you are, the more bandwidth you have to perceive others' needs. The more you serve, the more purpose fortifies your calm against trivial insult. It is a self-healing circuit. Keanu's subway courtesy radiates serenity, partly because the act itself whispers, "I have enough." Sully's steady voice on the Hudson was partly buoyed by years of selfless mentoring of junior pilots, which had rehearsed compassion under pressure. When you hold a door answer, a frantic call with composure, or donate expertise to a nonprofit, you're secretly banking equanimity against future turbulence. One word of caution: do not conflate service with saviorism. You are a steward, not a deity. Offer what lies within your locus of control. Release attachment to gratitude or perfect outcomes. Epictetus warned that clinging to externals, praise reciprocation, turns good deeds into leverage. Give, then let go. In modern parlance, focus on process metrics, hours volunteered over vanity metrics, Instagram likes. If the beneficiary snarls instead of thanks, practice the mantra I serve because it aligned with virtue, not because applause defines me. By now you may sense a subtle melting of former anxieties. That is psychological flow. Csikszentmihalyi's term for total absorption in a challenging yet manageable task that benefits some and greater than ego. Service is flow with moral coordinates. The hours you once killed, doom scrolling, morph into building garden beds at a shelter. Stress hormones drop, purpose hormones bloom. You begin to crave the high of usefulness more than the numbing buzz of distraction. As you close today's Forge session, perform a small vigil, light a candle, or tap a phone flashlight and speak aloud one sentence of intent. Tomorrow, I will turn gratitude into action by fill the blank with a concrete deed, writing a thank you note to the custodian, proofreading a resume for the intern, babysitting so a single parent can nap. Snuff the light. Let darkness remind you that quiet deeds, unseen by most, still warm the room. When sunrise returns, you will step into part 6, where we will tighten the lens on calm itself, exploring heart rate variability, tactical breathing, and cognitive reframing, so that no matter how fiercely the world yanks at your sleeve, your inner fabric remains untorn. For now, set down the device, stretch arms overhead as if embracing the invisible network of lives entwined with yours, and feel the hum of shared existence. Service is not a task list. It is a posture. Hold it gently. Wield it boldly. Part 6. Close your eyes and picture a single raindrop slipping from a roof tile into a quiet puddle. The circle widens, becomes 2, then 3, then a lattice of soft ripples spreading farther than the eye first imagines. That is calm, a modest seed of intention, echoing outward into nervous system decision loop relationships. And finally, the vast pond of culture you touch every day. You have already learned to mine anger for momentum, bolt routines into scaffolding, and let mortality sculpt urgency. Now you will refine the inner art of keeping that raindrop pure even when thunder cracks and debris splashes the water. This chapter is your deep dive into physiological calm, heart rate variability, tactical breathing, and cognitive reframing, so that calm is no longer luck, but chemistry you command. 1. The biology behind serenity. Modern metrics like heart rate variability, HRV, quantify what Marcus Aurelius intuited in candlelit tents. A resilient heart speeds up when stress demands action and downshifts when peace is possible. High HRV means elastic adaptability. Low HRV signals a system stuck in sympathetic overdrive. Elite athletes like Serena Williams track HRV each dawn with Aura rings and chest straps adjusting training load accordingly. Navy SEALs monitor the same metric during Hell Week, knowing that recruits with higher variability wield quicker decision-making under gunfire. Your ancient vagus nerve, Latin for wanderer, is conductor of this symphony, threading brainstem to lungs, heart, and gut. Strengthen the vagus and calm becomes less aspiration, more default. 2. Tactical breathing, the portable control panel. Your lungs are the only organ you can steer, both consciously and automatically. Command them with intention, and you hack the vagus in real time. 2 proven protocols of box breathing, 4-4-4-4, 2.1. Inhale through the nose for 4 counts. 2.2, hold for 4. 2.3, exhale through the mouth for 4. 2.4, hold empty for 4. Repeat for 4 cycles. Navy SEAL Commander Mark Devine prescribes this on chopper rides into combat zones. The equal holds temper, CO2, O2, balance signaling safety to limbic alarms. B. Physiological side, 2-1-2, mantra price. 1. 2 short inhales through the nose, the second stacking on the first. 2.2. Slow extended exhale through pursed lips. 1 to 3 rounds, drops heart rate nearly as fast as intravenous beta blockers. Stanford neuroscientist Andrew Huberman calls it the built-in tranquilizer. Use it before presentations, difficult calls, or any spike of sudden dread. Attach these drills to an environmental cue door frames, traffic lights, calendar alerts until breath work becomes reflex. Remember, mastery is not dramatic, it is automatic. 3. Cognitive reframing. Stoicism meets CBT. Once physiology stabilizes, address the theater of thought. Cognitive behavioral therapy, validated by thousands of peer-reviewed studies, is modern Stoicism in lab coat disguise. Its premise mirrors Epictetus. Events are neutral. Interpretation writes the emotional script. Use the ABC method. Adversity. Identify the raw trigger. Client canceled contract tweet. Mocked your project. Belief. Catch the story you spin. I'm doomed. They hate me. It's proof I'm a fraud. Consequences. Notice feelings spawned shame, panic, rage. Insert a Stoic question between B and C. Is this belief true, useful, eternal? Most crumble under scrutiny. Replace with a more accurate frame. 1 contract canceled. Skill set intact. Iterate pitch again. In CBT parlance, that's cognitive reappraisal. To Marcus, it's flexing the hegemony con. High status example Barack Obama during the first 2012 debate admitted, "Later I kept hearing my own critical voice. After the lukewarm performance, advisors feared momentum lost." He reframed rather than catastrophize. He dissected data, calmly injected sharper anecdotes, and roared back in debate too. The pivot wasn't willpower. It was disciplined reframing. 4. Building baseline calm, the 3 pillars. Calm under acute stress is crucial, but baseline calm, your default emotional set point, depends on lifestyle variables many overlook. A. Sleep depth 7 to 9 hours remains non-negotiable hardware maintenance. Chronic deprivation slashes HRV, jacks cortisol, and shrinks prefrontal gray matter, exactly where Stoic reasoning lives. Keanu Reeves on film sets guards sleep like a bodyguard, retreating early even during night shoots. He once quipped, "You can't fake presence. Presence is rested neurons firing in sync." B. Movement as mood, thermostat, aerobic exercise, resistance training, even 10-minute walks. Trigger myokines, proteins that cross the blood-brain barrier to fertilize neurogenesis. David Goggins runs not for vanity, but for biochemical sovereignty. In the morning, I'm bulletproof. By evening, I'm human again. Choose your movement, niche swim laps, dance, salsa, pedal stationary, and schedule it as immovably as brushing teeth. C. Nature exposure. Forest bathing studies from Japan show 20 minutes beneath tree canopies lowers heart rate and dampens amygdala activation. Serena names walks with her dog Chip as non-negotiable recovery. Even city dwellers can microdose lunch under a lone oak sunset, gaze on a rooftop, digital wallpapers of mountains when deadlines chain you indoors. Mini portal for the ancestral nervous system. 5. Micro resets, anchors against the drift. Despite best routines, turbulence hits. Install reset anchors. Haptic pulse, smartwatch buzz every hour prompts a 5-second posture realignment and single physiological sigh. Anchor object. A smooth stone in pocket engraved with calm. Whenever fingers graze it, label current emotion and breathe. Mantra ping phone wallpaper. Read and hold the line Sully's cockpit mantra. Each unlock refreshes mission focus. Over time, micro resets shrink emotional half-life. You still feel spikes, but they pass through like quick gusts instead of hurricanes. 6. Simulated pressure rehearsal. Pilots train in simulators. You must rehearse calm under controlled duress. Options. Cold showers, jar ice baths. 2 minutes daily spikes adrenaline, yet forces conscious breath. You practice overriding gasp reflex, a metaphor for life's cold shocks. Timed public speaking record, a 5-minute live stream daily on a topic outside your comfort zone. Spotlight stress, inoculates social nerves. Complex task with distraction. Solve a puzzle while playlist blasts chaotic audio. Focus muscle tears, then reforms thicker. Research shows systematic desensitization rewires threat appraisal circuits, creating a stress vaccine. 7 calm is leadership currency. Sully's river landing proved calm can rescue lives. Your daily calm can rescue team morale, family cohesion, or a customer's day. Leaders radiate emotional contagion, vent anxiety, and subordinates, cortisol spikes, exude composed confidence and group problem-solving blooms. A Harvard study on emotional aperture revealed teams led by steady managers recovered from setbacks 30% faster. Cultivate this asset. It's rarer than technical brilliance. Language of calm. Use fewer qualifiers, just maybe, and more concrete verbs. Pause 2 seconds before responding. Silence conveys deliberation. Slow vocal cadence by 10%. Listeners' heart rates entrain downward. Obama's rally speeches average 102 words per minute, slower than the average 135 and 150. Listeners reported increased comprehension and trust. You can modulate pace consciously. Record yourself speaking. Aim for 110, 115 WPM in high-stakes settings. 8. The Calm Ledger Track. Calm like you, track workouts. Write down your daily calmness tracker, focusing on 5 key metrics in a table format. First is your average morning heart rate variability, with the aim of nudging it 2 milliseconds above your personal baseline to signal improved autonomic balance. You're also targeting at least 7.5 hours of sleep to provide the physiological foundation for resilience. Breath work appears next, with a goal of 3 dedicated sessions to actively tone the vagus nerve and steady the mind. Cognitive hygiene follows logging at least 2 reframes each day, ensures you're catching unhelpful thoughts and redirecting them toward clarity. Finally, you plan on 8 micro resets, those brief posture check size or mindful pauses sprinkled throughout the day to keep stress from accumulating. The Today column is left blank for now, waiting for you to record how each of these metrics actually played out. Update nightly. Data replaces vague self-judgment with clarity. 9 weekly deep debrief. Each Sunday, perform a Stoic calm audit. 9.1 rewind. Replay week's fiery moments. 9.2 rate 1 or 10 scale of composure. 9.3 root identify belief fueling any slip. 9.4 refine draft new belief or protocol. This loop mirrors fighter pilot after action reviews. Boiled to habit, it ensures progressive overload, the lifter's secret applied to equanimity. 10. Integrating the whole instrument. Think of your nervous system as a grand piano. Breath slows, hammers, strikes, reframing, retunes, strings, sleep, lubricates, pedals. Service shares music beyond self. Master each key in symphony's surface where clamor once ruled. You will still hit wrong notes. Perfection is illusion. The milestone is shorter. Discord, quicker return to melody. 11. Exercises for the coming week. 11-point an HRV baseline. Upon waking record HRV for 7 consecutive days. Calculate average, set plus 5% goal by week 4 via breath work and sleep hygiene. 11.2 breath habit. Stack pair physiological sigh with each email. Send. Track compliance. 11.3 reframe journal. Capture 3 adversities per day, run ABC, and write new belief in green ink to imprint. 11.4 nature sprint schedule. 2 20-minute outdoor strolls, phone on airplane mode. 11.5 simulated stress. Saturday design, a 30-minute challenge combining cold exposure, cognitive task, and time pressure. Debrief emotions. 12. Looking ahead. You now wield calm, not as passive luck, but as engineered state. In Part 7, we'll fuse calm with courageous action, turning mental stillness into decisive moves that bend reality toward your vision. Confidence without movement languishes. Movement without calm flails. When combined, they carve destiny. For tonight, power down screens an hour early, darken the room and practice box breathing until thoughts settle like snow in a shaken globe. Whisper a promise to the hushed air, I will wake ready to conduct the symphony within me. Let vagus nerve conduct the lullaby. Let sleep refurbish the citadel. Let calm root itself so deeply that tomorrow's storms find no loose brick. Part 7. You have learned to sit at the still point of the turning world lungs, an instrument you can tune at. Will mind a forge you stoke with disciplined breath. Now imagine that quiet strength unfurling into motion, so deliberate it redraws the map of your life. Calm without action is a lotus frozen in winter mud. It bears no fruit. Courage without calm is a torch in dry grass. It rages, then dies. When the two braid together, they become a living rope that can haul dreams from the hazy heights of possibility into the daylight of fact. This chapter is your blueprint for courageous action, decisions, and deeds that spring from equanimity, align with virtue, and reshape reality. 1. The Stoic definition of courage. Forget Hollywood bravado, motorcycle leaps, and gun barrel speeches. Stoic courage is quieter, the steady hand signing a difficult memo, the voice that says I was wrong, the feet that step onto a starting line when success is not guaranteed. Marcus Aurelius wrote, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Action is the philosopher's final syllable. Epictetus sharpened the point. First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do. You start with a vision of character, then back engineer the behaviors that person must perform, and you execute them, especially when knees tremble. 2. Courage is muscle fiber. Physiology underpins bravery just as it underpins calm. The catecholamine surge, adrenaline, noradrenaline, does not vanish in courageous people. They simply ride it. Elite free climber Alex Honnold feels fear, but his amygdala fires a narrower signal because years of incremental exposure rewired thresholds. Likewise, you build bravery through progressive overload. Tackle challenges one notch above comfort, recover, repeat. Over months, what once felt impossible blurs into routine, just as a 5-kilometer jog becomes warm-up for the marathoner. 3. The commitment ladder. Begin with a commitment ladder, 10 rungs ascending from trivial to terrifying in a single domain. Expose your fears. Public speaking. 3.1. Read a paragraph aloud in an empty room. 3.2. Record yourself on phone watch playback. 3. Share a 2-minute story with a trusted friend. 3.4. Host a 5-person Zoom on an easy topic. 3.5. Ask a question at a community event. 3.6. Present a 5-slide deck to coworkers. 3.7. Lead a workshop for 15. 3.8. Pitch a project to senior leadership. 3.9. Deliver a keynote to 100. 3.10. Compete in a national speaking contest. Schedule 1 rung per week. Calm practices prime the nervous system. Action climbs the ladder. By rung 10, adrenaline still sparks, but it illuminates rather than blinds. 4. Keanu's yes. And Keanu Reeves embodies a principle improv actors call yes, and accept the scene as it is, then add value. Motorcycle crash shattered his vertebrae. He said yes to rehab and engineered Arch Motorcycle Company. Losing best friend River Phoenix, he said yes to grief and funded cancer research in Phoenix's honor. Each pivot fuses stoic acceptance with forward motion. your own yes, and might look like project canceled yes. And you salvaged the team's insights to seed a new venture. Relationship ends yes, and you channel solitude into mastering a language. The calm you've mastered holds space for the sting. Courage writes the next act. 5. The 2-hour rule. Obama facing a decision, gridlocked by advisors, often blocked 2 silent hours, no screens, no staff, armed only with briefing papers and a fountain pen. He emerged with a verdict, ready to live with consequences. Adopt a 2-hour rule for pivotal choices. Seclude yourself with pros, cons, and value alignment. No Googling, no texting. By end, commit. Calm prevents reactive choice. Courage prevents endless deliberation. 6. Serena's failure rehearsal. Serena Williams watches slow-motion footage of missed serves, not just winners. She exposes herself to failure frames until dread drains away. Do the same with your worst-case fantasies. Rehearse the pitch flop, the rejection email, the awkward pause after your proposal. Visualize recovery steps. Breathe, clarify, iterate. Neuroscience shows fear extinction occurs when imagined catastrophes pair with images of competent response. Soon action feels less like cliff jumping, more like walking a rope you've tested at ground level. 7. Goggins' accountability mirror. David Goggins talks to his reflection nightly, tallying promises kept and broken. Candor fuels courage. Place a sticky note on your bathroom glass. Did I do something hard today? A check box releases dopamine for progress. An empty one triggers adaptive discomfort. Over time, the mirror becomes mentor, brutal, loyal, free. Here 8. The niche of impact. Courage aims at stakes worth bleeding for. Clarify your niche of impact where personal talent intersects planetary need. Use the Venn set, skill activities, where feedback says you're unusually good. Joy tasks that energize rather than drain. Need problems society pays to solve or souls ache to heal. Where circles overlap, plant your boldest projects. Chef Jose Andres cooking in disaster zones is skill plus joy plus need. Your overlap might be coding, curiosity plus access inequality leading to open source tools for underfunded schools. Courage multiplies when mission ignites heart and head simultaneously. 9. Sully's decision loop. Courage under time pressure requires fast cycle loops. 9.1. Observe, gather raw data. Engines failing, contract deadline looming. 9.2. Orient, match data to mental models. Water landing better than unknown runway. 9.3. Decide. Choose a course married to values. Protect lives. Protect product quality. 9.4. Act. Execute swiftly. Iterate midstream. John Boyd's OODA loop birthed modern air combat doctrine. Sully lived it. Practice with low-risk drills. Cooking with dwindling ingredients. Coding with time boxes. The loop tightens. Bravery grows. 10. Language of action. Notice courageous language verbs, heavy qualifiers, light. Replace I'll try with I will. Swap. Maybe we could for let's. Neuroscientist Lisa Feldman Barrett shows word shape predict and prepare networks of the brain. Decisive verbs prime decisive follow through. Track your speech for 1 day /hedges by 30%. 11. The courage ledger. Mirror your calm ledger with action metrics. Write down your daily calmness tracker, focusing on 5 key metrics in a table format. This courage tracking dashboard outlines 5 daily or weekly actions designed to keep you stretching beyond your comfort zone. Each day you aim to climb at least 1 rung on your personal commitment ladder. Whether that means a slightly tougher workout, a bolder networking move, or a higher stakes public talk. You also strive to initiate 1 hard conversation, practicing honest dialogue even when it feels awkward. To nurture creativity under pressure, you commit to sending out one risky draft, a pitch, prototype, or idea that could be critiqued, but will move your craft forward. At least once per day, you log and analyze a failure, turning missteps into lessons. Finally, you schedule 1 2-hour block of deep, solitary decision-making each week, giving complex choices the reflection they deserve. The Blank Today column lets you record real-time progress against each target, offering a quick snapshot of how courage translates into concrete actions. Data exposes drift, validates progress. 12 Community of the Bold Courage Compounds and Tribes. Join or form a bold circle, 5 people committed to weekly check-ins, sharing risks taken and lessons harvested. Psychologists call this collective efficacy. When you see peers leap, mirror neurons nudge you forward. Goggins calls them accountability partners. The Stoics called them friends of virtue. 13 Managing Aftershocks. Action invites mockery, sometimes disaster. When backlash hits, apply the Stoic Aftershock Protocol. 13.1 Breathe, physiological sigh. 13.2 Recall values, index card check. 13.3 Reframe event versus interpretation. 13.4 Re-engage, iterate, or pivot. Taylor Swift's public maelstrom post-award show. She used the protocol: retreat, refocus, write an industry-shaking album. 14. The 90-second rule. Neuroscientist Jill Bolte Taylor notes, emotional chemicals flush in 90 seconds unless you refuel them with thought. When fear spikes mid-action, count 90, breathe, proceed. This micro tool keeps courage from stalling under biochemical haze. 15. Mortality is springboard. Return to memento mori. The clock ticks. Legacy awaits. Rosa Parks, weary yet composed, refused her bus seat because mortality whispered, "This moment counts." Your bus seat is wherever injustice or complacency beckons silence. Speak, stand, produce, leap, knowing the dash on your headstone shrinks daily. 16. Nightly wind down. The acta journal. Close each day like a Roman general filing acta. Diurna public deeds. Write 3 lines. Brave act. Lesson learned. Next edge sleep. Knowing tomorrow's script already holds a deliberate risk. 17. Preparing for purposeful momentum. In Part 8, we will integrate everything Calm Courage Service into a strategic life system. Quarterly objectives, keystone habits, feedback loops, and celebratory rituals. You will graduate from reactive existence to architect of a 90-minute performance masterpiece called your life. For now, extinguish lights, place palm on heart, feel the drum that dares you toward the next rung. Whisper action refines identity, and let sleep graft that truth into bone. Part 8. Let's gather every tool you've sharpened. Calm like a steady pulse, courage like coiled muscle, ready to spring service like quiet sunlight, and forge them into a single architecture. A strategic life system robust enough to weather chaos, yet flexible enough to evolve as you do. Up to now, you have trained the individual instruments of a well-tuned orchestra. From this moment forward, you will compose the symphony. Think of this chapter as a blueprint for a living framework, something you can refine every quarter, yet trust every day. It begins with vision, flows through keystone habits, locks into feedback loops, and ends with celebration. Because a life system without joy is a spreadsheet without soul. On a crafting your North Star vision, Marcus Aurelius urged himself, each dawn conceive of the whole of the life you wish to live. A North Star vision is not a 5-year plan packed with granular tasks. It's a compass bearing a vivid mental film of the person you will be when virtues, talents, and service converge. Close your eyes and picture a scene 3 years from now. Where are you at 8 a.m.? What work absorbs you by lunch? Whose faces glow at your dinner table? What problems have you spent the day alleviating? Capture sensory details, the cedar scent of your study, the way your partner's laughter lifts the room, the icons on your project dashboard. Write a 2-paragraph snapshot and pin it where eyes land: daily bathroom mirror, phone lock screen inside journal cover. This is not fantasy. It's GPS data for the subconscious. Pour a tour, quarter by quarter. The strategic map divide the year into 4 90-day sprints, Stoic seasons of deliberate cultivation. Fortune may disrupt, but 90 days is long enough to harvest momentum, short enough to pivot. Each quarter set 3 objectives of virtue: 1 for personal mastery, 1 for professional impact, 1 for communal service. They must satisfy the VIA test, value-aligned map directly to your North Star vision. Inspirational, stir emotion when spoken aloud. Actionable, contain observable milestones. Example 2.1 personal. Increase average HRV by 10 measure through disciplined sleep and breath work. 2.2 professional. Launch beta version of mental fitness app for first 500 users. 2.3 communal. Mentor 2 first-generation college students. Weekly. Write each objective as if already achieved. I mentor, not I will mentor. To imprint identity. 3 keystone habits. The levers of leverage. Charles Duhigg coined the term keystone habit, a behavior that triggers beneficial cascades. You will choose 1 per objective, crafting it with the suit filter, simple, completed in 10 minutes, or standard 3 paraphernalia steps. Upgradable scales in intensity without losing identity. Integratable pairs with existing routine or environment cue. Trackable yes, no completion recorded daily. Examples: HRV Keystone, lights out by 10 to 0 p.m. 5 nights a week. App Keystone, write 300 lines of code or pseudocode before 9 a.m. daily. Mentorship Keystone, send 1 value-adding message to mentees every Tuesday lunch. Your keystone habits are non-negotiable. Contracts guard them as Sully guards pre-flight checklists. 4. Ritual design: morning, midday. Evening, morning activation. 45 min, 4.1 silence, 5 min. Physiological size, pool box breathing. 4.2 vision rehearsal, 3 min. RID North Star snapshot allowed. 4.3 movement, 20 min. Body weight flow or jog releasing myokines. 4.4 keystone slot, 12 min. Code journal, study, or mentor touch point. 4.5 Stoic reading, 5 min. 1 meditations passage, reflect on application, midday calibration. 10 min. Walk outdoors. Mantra, hold the line, physiological sigh, quick value card glance. Evening integration, 20 min. 4.1 act a journal. 10 min. Brave act lesson, next edge. 4.2 calm ledger. 2 min. HRV breathwork, micro resets tallied. 4.3 courage ledger. 2 min. Ladder rung climbed, risk taken. 4.4 service ledger. 2 min. Assistance rendered, gratitude received. 4.5 sleep boundary. 4 min. Low light stretch devices off. These rituals carve neural grooves. Repetition deepens them into highways. 5 feedback loops. Data. Reflection. Data prevents self-deception. Choose lag metrics outcomes and lead metrics behaviors. Sleep hours are lead, HRV increases lag. Code lines are lead, beta launches lag. Use a simple spreadsheet or habit tracking app. Review weekly during a 90-minute reflection summit. 5.1 Celebrate wins. Dopamine fuels future attempts. 5.2 Diagnose misses. Was the goal flawed? The habit weak? The resistance emotional? 5.3 Iterate systems. Tweak keystones, not North Star vision unless values shift. High status example Serena reviews. Serve stats after every match, adjust foot placement degrees, not her core goal of court dominance. 6. Environmental design curate context, like coral, needs reef habits, need habitat. Digital garden, bookmark learning dashboards, block dopamine slot sites. Physical anchors, dumbbells by desk meditation cushion, visible fruit bowl center stage. Social ring, bold circle group chat, pinned doom spiral contacts muted. Identity cues, whiteboard mantra, calm plus courage, impact framed letter from Marin T. Environment should feel like autopilot toward virtue. 7. Stop doing list. Every system must prune. List 5 behaviors that leak time, mood, or integrity. Late night scrolling, weekday alcohol, gossip channels, post on fridge each quarter. Retire at least one permanently. Barack Obama's suit simplification lived on a stop doing list, stop deliberating attire. 8. Strategic sprints and deliberate rest divide weeks into focus. Blocks deep work, flex blocks responsive tasks, and recharge blocks rest relationships nature. Neuroscience proves cyclic strain. Recovery yields neuroplastic gains. David Goggins' training oscillates between savage workouts and deliberate foam rolling ice baths meditation. Map your calendar and color codes so strain and rest appears rhythmic waves. 9. Celebratory rituals. Joy is fuel. Without celebration systems, crust into duty. Install micro-celebrations, silent fist pump after Keystone hot tea after ledger completion. Quarterly host a Stoic feast invite, bold circle share, progress, recite, and favorite quote. Break bread mindfully. Keanu celebrates rap parties by gifting crew motorcycles a flourish, aligning with his values of loyalty and adventure. 10 fail-safe mechanisms. Adversity will ambush. Prepare red team drill. Each quarter forecast 3 plausible disruptions. Injury funding, cut family emergency. Draft contingency, keystone habits that maintain momentum at 60% capacity. Grace clause. If a keystone streak breaks, apply never miss twice rule. Self-forgiveness, then immediate reset. Accountability SOS, bold circle protocol. If member misses Keystone 3 days group video call within 24 hours to troubleshoot. 11. Service scalability. As system matures, widen service sphere through T-model, deepen one cause vertically. E.g. mentorship while sampling lateral microservices, park cleanups, blood drives to stay humble and adaptable. Chef Jose Andres began as food relief niche, now advises on climate sustainability AT, expanding without losing root. 12. Legacy ledger, the dash tracker. Monthly revisit your 2-minute obituary rewrite. Compare to current deeds. See drift adjust. This ledger ensures mortality stays integrated, not shelved as abstract poetry. 13. Strategic sabbatical. Every 2 years, schedule a 1-week solo retreat offline in cabin or pilgrimage trail. Review life system holistically. Do values still ring? Have keystone habits plateaued? Is North Star vision brighter or blurred? Return with refined settings. Steve Jobs took sabbaticals to India and Yosemite. Insights born there later reshaped global tech. Verse 14. The symphony metaphor. Envision your system as an orchestral score. Strings, keystone habits, steady and continuous. Brass, courageous leaps, bold and resonant. Woodwinds, service gestures, weaving melodious uplift. Percussion, feedback data, rhythmic accountability. Silence, calm breath intervals, giving music its shape. You, the conductor, wield baton of attention. Each day's baton lift is a morning ritual. Each night's lowering an acta journal. 15. Case study montage. Sully uses quarterly simulator refreshers, Keystone monthly peer debriefs, feedback, and fly fishing weekends. Recharge to maintain readiness. Serena rotates 4-week training mesocycles, tracks serve velocity metrics, celebrates milestone dinners with family. Obama still blocks reading hours, mentors emerging leaders, takes annual summer break on Martha's Vineyard for reflection. Keanu alternates acting seasons with motorcycle building sabbaticals, balances generosity keystones with solitary desert rides. Goggins maintains the accountability mirror cycles, ultra events with speaking tours, debriefs each in meticulous logs. Blueprints vary, principles converge. 16. Integrate, don't juggle. The ultimate test: does your system dissolve boundaries between personal and professional, inner and outer, so virtue flows through every role: parent, coder, athlete, citizen? When mentorship call ends, you seamlessly pivot to code sprint, because both stem from the same virtue of contribution. No masks to swap, no energy lost in role play. 17. Preparing for the summit. You now possess a living architecture. Next comes part 9, the final ascent, a 600-word wind down that slows narrative heartbeat reviews all pillars and nestles the listener into restorative stillness. Until then, quiet the mind, glance at your North Star statement, and take the smallest aligned step, maybe placing sneakers by the door or drafting tomorrow's keystone cue. Systems thrive on immediate motion. Close with a final breath. Inhale blueprint, exhale doubt. You are architect and resident of the structure you build. The world will press, storms will test, but foundations anchored in calm courage and service will hold. Tomorrow the orchestra plays on. Verse 9. Dim the lights one last time and settle into the hush that gathers at day's edge, the hush where street lamps flicker awake and shadow pools under chairs, where the world exhales its traffic noise and invites you to listen for subtler music. Feel the cushion beneath you or the bed cradling your spine. Sense the almost imperceptible micro-sway of your body as breath tides in and out. Tonight we weave every thread you've gathered, calm, courage, service, discipline, systems, into a single tapestry of stillness, then fold that tapestry into the satchel of your soul so you can carry it crease-free into all the dawns to come. Start with the breath, always. Inhale gently through the nose for 4, hold for 2, exhale through the mouth for 7. Again, draw the cool air like clear water into the caverns of your lungs. Feel it swirl, cleansing the soot of small frustrations. Release it slow as though pouring from a heavy pitcher, letting tension trickle away in a quiet stream. Each round loosens one more knot in the shoulders, slows the drum of the heart, and coaxes the vagus nerve to whisper, "You are safe. You can soften." Let that softening ripple outward jaw, unclenching brow, unfurrowing toes, untensing until even your thoughts feel lighter, like paper lanterns drifting skyward. Now cast your mind's eye across the 9-part journey you've just completed. See it as a mountain chain stretching from the restless lowlands of impulsive living toward the serene summit of intentional existence. At the foot of that range, you learned that mindset is everything, the hidden scriptwriter who decides whether an unexpected storm becomes tragedy or training. You met Sully guiding a crippled Airbus onto the Hudson Ryan holiday, retreating to a Texas farm for stillness, and Keanu Reeves handing his subway seat to a stranger. They taught you that calm is a force field you generate from within, not a luxury granted by perfect circumstances. Higher up the path, you discovered emotional alchemy. You learned to transmute anger into propulsion like the rock at dawn, to invite fear as a compass, like Alex Honnold tracing micro-holds on El Capitan, and to flip envy into blueprint like Tom Brady dissecting game tape. You practiced the alchemy circuit, trigger, label, interrogate, transmute, until raw feeling became refined fuel. You forged routines into scaffolding, morning silence, movement, vision rehearsal, midday breath resets, evening journals. Sleep became sacred architecture movement, the thermostat a mood, nature a quiet chapel. You studied Serena's pre-dawn sweat, Obama's suit minimalism, and Jocko's 4:30 watch face, embedding discipline as a non-negotiable ally. Then came mortality, the mentor that never lies. You ran the 5-minute funeral drill, wrote 2-sentence weekly obituaries, and felt how limited breath can ignite expansive compassion. You tasted the urgency that drove Chadwick Boseman to channel pain into cultural legend, and whispered thank yous to the barista who, like you, walks the tightrope of finite days. Service unfolded, next chef Jose Andres stirring vats of soup amid ruins, Serena mentoring rookies, Keanu anonymously funding children's prosthetics. You tracked service in a ledger, designed budgets of time and energy, planted seeds of unseen generosity. Through tactical breathing, HRV metrics, and cognitive reframing, you anchored calm in biology. Box breaths at traffic lights, physiological sighs before volatile calls, micro resets through haptic pulses. Each shrank panic's half-life and widened composure's range. The calm ledger supplied data. The weekly audit supplied humility. Then courage ascended, commitment ladders 2-hour solitary decisions. Serena's failure rehearsals, Goggins' accountability mirror. You replaced hedged language with decisive verbs, climbed rungs until adrenaline became illumination rather than fog, and recentered on a niche of impact where skill, joy, and need intersect. Part 8 erected the strategic life system, North Star vision, quarterly objectives, keystone habits, feedback loops, stop doing lists, and celebratory feasts. You designed living architecture, strings of keystone brass, of bold leaps, woodwinds of service, percussion of data, and the vital silences of recovery that plays the symphony of a purposeful existence. Now at the summit, twilight, you pause, look back. The trail glimmers with foot lanterns of all who walked before, the Stoics, the modern exemplars, the mentors you haven't met yet who already cheer your ascent. Ahead lies a vast plateau of tomorrows, none guaranteed, all pregnant with possibility. You carry no sword, only a well-sharpened mind, no shield, only an open heart. No map, only the compass of values pointing true no matter how the terrain shifts. Let us seal the lessons into memory with the wind-down litany, a series of gentle affirmations you can recite any evening the sky feels heavy. I breathe, therefore I have power over this moment. I feel, therefore I have fuel for disciplined action. I will die, therefore I choose what matters now. I serve, therefore I am never alone. I track, therefore I evolve with clarity. I act, therefore I sculpt my identity. I rest, therefore I renew the citadel within. Whisper each line on an exhale, let the words linger like incense in an ancient temple. Picture tomorrow unfurling like a blank parchment. Dawn will knock, perhaps with bird chirps, perhaps with phone buzzes. You will greet it as architect, not tenant. Keystone habits will slide into place like well-greased gears. Adversity will glance off your equanimity and land in the forge where scrap becomes tools. When fear tugs, you will nod yes and climb in the next rung. When service opportunities appear, you will act without trumpet, knowing legacy accrues in quiet increments. Data will keep you honest. Celebration will keep you bright. At night, you will close the ledger with ink of gratitude and slip into sleep as into a healing lake. For now, place one hand on your heart, the other on your diaphragm. Feel the synchronized rise and fall, two metronomes ticking the tempo of life. On your next inhale, imagine drawing in white light that gathers behind your rib cage. On the exhale, let that light seep outward through your skin, warming the room, diffusing into the city, seeding calm like pollen in every place you will walk tomorrow. You are no longer merely a student of Stoicism. You are a living conduit of it, breath to breath, choice to choice. Allow your eyelids to settle. Sounds soften, maybe a distant car, maybe the faint whir of a fan. They become part of a larger hush, a hush you helped create by stilling your own inner noise. Trust that while you sleep, routines will marinate in muscle neurons, will weld new circuits, and tomorrow's courage will be waiting like fresh clothes laid out by the bed. One final breath in gratitude for teachers dead and living, for bodies that mend even as they age, for the fragile, wondrous chance to aim our minds toward virtue. Exhale, ease. Let the tapestry of mindset wrap around you like a warm blanket. Drift traveler. The citadel stands guard. The orchestra rests its instruments. The raindrops' ripples have smoothed a tranquil glass. Sleep well, architect of calm and courage. Dawn will find you ready. Sweet dreams.